Hello, I'm Laura and today I thought that I would do a let's chat of why I am a feminist.
Thanks, Laura. I was wondering what I was going to do today. I've not seen beyond your pay cap rubbish, so I'm not sure what your opinions are yet. We'll just have to see what happens as we go along, right?
And I feel like this subject is always applicable in the news. There's always stuff going on about gender inequality.
It does happen quite a lot in the media where someone is complaining about gender inequality. But since you're about to make the claim that you're a feminist because you believe in equality of the genders, I'd like to point out that it's always a woman-centered topic in the media. For some reason, the media tends to ignore gender inequality towards men. Just a thought.
And the reason that I am a feminist and I define myself as a feminist is because I support equal rights for men and women.
Woohoo! A feminist who supports equal rights for both genders. Let's hope that's the trend that sticks.
And this isn't to be confused with a feminazi who may believe that women are superior to men. I believe that we should be equal and we should live in an equal society and get treated equally in politics, so with legislation and in employment and with the law, as in like if you go to prison, something like that. So anyway, everything. I think we should just be totally equal as men and women because, let's be honest, none of us chose to be born as a man or a woman. So why should a man that gets born a man have more rights than a woman and earn more money than a woman just because they were born a man? I didn't choose to be a woman. I'm not saying I would have it any other way. I'm very happy being a woman. But it's just not fair that just because a man gets born a man that they get paid more.
Okay, to start off, you said equal 5 times in the space of 10 seconds. You're not allowed to say equal for the next half hour. We get it. You believe that men and women should be equal. Second, you're right about how we don't choose the gender into which we were born. But what's this? Why should men have more rights than women thing? You're in England. Men in England do not have more rights than women. So what are feminists fighting for in England now? In fact, you have more rights than your male peers. You have the right to genital integrity, while boys are circumcised before they can even talk, let alone have an opinion on gender equality. You have reproductive rights. But just a couple of months ago, a woman was on This Morning boasting that she'd gotten pregnant by emptying her boyfriend's condom into her vagina, and she'd received child support from him, even though he had made the decision to not have children. And she was applauded for it. Right on live national TV. Courts will favour you in the event of a divorce. If you choose to give up work to look after kids, no one will say boo to you. But a man who chooses that will be pressured into getting work, or he'll be labelled a deadbeat, even if his wife or girlfriend is in full-time work to support their family. The reasons you have for being a feminist is the reason most people choose to identify as egalitarian. Feminism is the fight for women's rights. It has no place in the country that you live in today.
And have more of a say in parliament and all things like that. That is basically why I am a feminist, because I support equality of the genders and of the sexes.
Yeah, okay. Men shouldn't have more of a say in a parliament that has an acting prime minister with a vagina. We had Margaret Thatcher too. She royally fucked up our economy and started a war in the Falklands. As with any governmental body, the UK government is chosen by elections every 4 years. Considering they're supposed to reflect the decisions of the people who elected them, and that the majority of voters happen to be female, doesn't that actually reflect that women have more of a say in Parliament? No, of course it doesn't, because women are voting for men as well, aren't they? A responsible voter, of course, is one who votes in the best possible policy. They don't take a peek at the hardware. That's probably why Theresa May was not voted in by the public.
And I don't think that anyone, and I believe that when people don't agree with that men and women are equal, I don't know why people wouldn't see that. Women are born with female genitalia, men are born with male genitalia. That is the only difference between us.
You're wrong here. There are more differences between the genders than just what's in your underwear. Biologically, women tend to be more social and, yes, emotional, while men tend to be physically stronger. The differences between the gender are often more subtle than you seem to think.
Okay, we have different hormones, so we might think differently.
I thought you said the only difference is the genitalia. That's what you said 3 seconds ago. Don't change your mind so quickly.
But in terms of what we can achieve in the workplace, there is no difference.
I'm checking up this claim. Let's see how little differences there are in the workplace concerning gender. And to do it, I'm going to ask if you could do what I'm about to suggest. The average bricklayer's hod can carry 10 to 12 bricks, and the average brick weighs 2.8 kilograms, giving the weight of a single load of bricks to be somewhere between 28 kilograms and 33.6 kilograms, not counting the weight of the hod. The baseline rate is for a bricklayer to move 1,000 bricks per day, giving a minimum of 35 trips a day, each time carrying a minimum of 28 kilograms. Do you think you could do that? The most I can carry, by the way, is roughly 12 to 16 kilograms, provided I don't have to carry it far. But then I have the strength of an average woman. You might be able to do better than that, but I doubt very much if you could do the 28 kilogram trips repeatedly for a whole day.
And it isn't fair that a man should earn more, and in terms of the gender pay gap, it is absolutely ridiculous. I think at the moment it's standing at 10% for full-time employment for women.
The gender pay gap is absolutely ridiculous, but not for the reasons you think. It has been proven to be a flawed study since 1979 because it doesn't take any variables like job title, hours worked, time spent away from work, number of hours overtime, qualifications, experience, time served within a single company, or dangerous and undesirable jobs that tend to pay more. It's literally comparing sales staff with CEOs. It's well beyond time where this bullshit was no longer used as an example of why women are so weak that they need an ideology like feminism.
Which any percentage gap is ridiculous. It should be 0.
No percentage cap is ridiculous when you take into account the variables, especially the ones I just brought up. The gender pay gap that does exist is not because you're a woman. That would be illegal. If you can prove that you are getting paid less because of your gender, take it to a fucking court.
It's not fair that there is a gender pay gap just because we're a woman. And it's something like a woman earns it's like £250,000 less over their entire lifetime just because they're a woman.
Yeah, earns less. And not because she's a woman. Would you stop repeating yourself? You want to earn the same as a man? You want that £250,000? Go out and earn it. No one is going to just hand it to you. And if they do, they're fucking idiots.
So I'm going to throw some more stats at you because I think that is the best way to argue that men and women should be equal.
No, statistics are not the best way to prove a point. Evidence is. Do you have evidence for us?
Out of the FTSE 100 companies, only 7 people out of those 100, and the FTSE 100 are the 100 biggest companies in the UK, so it's a good indicator to see how well those businesses are doing to how well the UK is doing as a whole. And out of those 100 companies, only 7 have female CEOs, which is Chief Executive Officer, which is the highest rank you can get in a company. 7 out of those, 7% of those companies have women as their CEOs.
Holy crap! Do you really think that your audience is so stupid that you have to explain every single little detail of what you say? We know what the FTSE is. We know what a CEO is. Want to know why only 7 of those companies have female CEOs? Because the job entails lots and lots of overtime. I'm talking like 50 to 60 hour weeks every week for the rest of your working life. Women in general don't want to spend 60 hours a week in the office because their lives are disrupted. If they have kids, they can't spend time with them while they're at work.
Only 29% of MPs in the House of Commons are women.
You mean that ones who are elected by men and women? Feminism is not going to change that. We do not and should not vote for a vagina.
That is 191 women MPs, and so that's 29%. So that is less than a third of MPs are women.
And 60% of the people who voted them in are women.
Less than a third. And if we are going on the basis that the population is split 50-50 and there are arguments there are actually more women in the world, then why is it not at 50%? Surely for good representation and to get female points across, we need 50% female MPs, 50% male MPs.
No, we don't. If that ever happened, then somebody rigged the election. I'm not a mathematician, but the probability of the entire country voting in favour of an exact split between the genders is so high that I couldn't even begin to estimate. And I don't even know the equations to figure it out.
Cuts, and this has been researched, cuts to public sector jobs have affected women more because they make up 2/3 of public sector jobs. So obviously cuts to them are going to affect women a lot more.
If women make up 2/3 of a job sector that gets budget cuts, then of course it'll affect women. Maybe we should hire men based on gender to bring the public sector jobs to that 50-50 split that you want so badly. That would be sexist. Well, knock me down with a boiled carrot and stuff a cactus up my arse. Why the fuck should we have quotas for women to get gender parity in jobs that require degrees and decades of education and training then.
And that's also cuts to benefits as well. Benefits make up approximately 1/5 of women's income, whereas they only make up 1/10 of men's approximately. And so obviously cuts to benefits are going to affect women more in that way too.
I have no idea where you got these numbers from. Could you provide some citations, please? No, of course you can't.
So everything is affecting women more.
Everything? Are you sure about that? You know, like suicide, combat death, work-related death, unemployment, plus the legal rights that I mentioned before. But everything is affecting women more? I think you have a narrow definition of everything.
That we were born a woman, so we're going to earn less, we're going to get our benefits cut more, we're going to not be able to, we're not going to be represented well. And I honestly believe that one of the main reasons for this is that we aren't well represented in Parliament.
Yada yada, same thing as before.
We need better representation, and I recently asked an MP, does he agree with positive discrimination? And positive discrimination is almost an oxymoron in itself, because how can you positively discriminate against something? But that would mean getting more women into Parliament by pushing for more women. And
don't push for more women to go into Parliament. Encouraging women to go into Parliament is one thing, but refusing to let a man get any job based on his gender is still discrimination. And not the positive kind.
And putting them on the short list, so when you go to vote you have more women on the ballot paper, and I honestly believe that that is the way to do it.
No, it fucking isn't. It's fucking sexist. People who get on the ballot should be the best at their jobs. Part of the job requirements to become an MP is not dick size, you chump.
We need more women in politics, and it isn't fair because there are, you may not see it because a lot of my audience is young people, so I'm referring to we as young people, and we may not see it because we think, oh, they're getting voted for because they're the best candidate. And yes, I believe that if there is a better candidate, is a man or a woman, then they should be selected, but at the moment on the ballot paper that's often not the way.
More bullshit. Try becoming an MP. If you want to see more women in Parliament, see if you can be the best person for the job. Don't just pull statements out of thin air and claim that they're facts. If you can prove that women are being refused seats in Parliament just because they're women, bring forth your damned evidence.
It's often in open primaries when, I'm not going to get too technical into this, but the older people, older generations in that constituency will try and get in the men, or the white men in particular, rather than a black person, a woman, or even a black woman.
Prove it. If that was even true, there would be no female MPs. Get off your high horse and learn something.
We need more women in these high ranked jobs, in FTSE 100 for example. We need more women to be inspirational and show that you can achieve the best.
Off you go then. Get a job as a CEO. Show us that you can do it. There's no law that prevents you from trying to get a high profile job. There's no law that prevents you from getting a job as a refuse collector either, but I don't see you complaining that 95% of them are male. There's no law that prevents you from getting a job in a sewage works. You know that job pays shitloads, right?
And yeah, and I think having a female Prime Minister is an element of that, and I think that she should be inspirational for what you can achieve, but we've got to remember her background, and she went to a grammar school and she's very well educated.
Well educated. You know that she got a second class Bachelor of Arts in Geography, and that was it. You call that well educated? No education in economics? Nothing along the lines of law? So, she could point to Brixton on the map, but pretty much nothing else. Kind of shoddy education for a Prime Minister, don't you think?
So that does account for some of what she achieved. And I mean, in her speech, I don't know if any of you watched it live, I sure did, of her entering 10 Downing Street when she became Prime Minister, and she was talking about equality for everything, for gender, for education, for the workplace, everything, all equality.
Every one of us, whoever we are and wherever we're from. That means fighting against the burning injustice that if you're born poor, you will die on average 9 years earlier than others. If you're black, you're treated more harshly by the criminal justice system than if you're white. If you're a white working class boy, you're less likely than anybody else in Britain to go to university. If you're at a state school, you're less likely to reach the top professions than if you're educated privately. If you're a woman, you will earn less than a man. If you suffer from mental health problems, there's not enough help to hand. If you're young, you'll find it harder than ever before to own your own home. But the mission to make Britain a country that works for everyone means more than fighting these injustices. If you're from an ordinary working class family, life is much harder than many people in Westminster realise. You have a job, but you don't always have job security. You have your own home, but you worry about paying the mortgage. You can just about manage, but you worry about the cost of living and getting your kids into a good school. If you're one of those families, if you're just managing, I want to address you directly. I know you're working around the clock. I know you're doing your best, and I know that sometimes life can be a struggle. The government I lead will be driven not by the interests of the privileged few, but by yours. We will do everything we can to give you more control over your lives.
Yeah, making a speech about it doesn't mean that she can or will even try to effect the changes she claims to be trying to effect. What was that she was saying about the poor die 9 years early? How is feminism going to stop that? How is she going to stop that? And remember the benefit cuts that you were complaining affect women more. Also note, as I said, she was not elected by the public. She's not actually the Prime Minister. She's the acting Prime Minister. Until the public are given the opportunity to vote again, and then we'll see. I wonder how much more of the economy she'll ruin before then.
Came from a grammar school herself, so and she voted for cuts. She voted for a lot of cuts. So bit of hypocrisy there, but whatever.
Oh, you do know that in the short time that she's lived in Downing Street, that she's proven to be as corrupt and hypocritical as, every politician before her. Vote vagina! Okay, Laura's done. She's asked to keep comments down to small comments on whether or not you agree or disagree. I try to avoid making comments now because some of my best comments on YouTube have been deleted by the uploader because I disagreed with them, or having them close their comments and ratings. So I don't see the point. If Laura watches this video, then great. If she's open to listening to my opinion, even better. I don't mean just hearing them, I mean listening to them. But it's videos like this gynocentric one that make me an egalitarian. I was never a feminist. I don't agree with feminism. And there's no way in hell that I'm ever going to support it. Yes, we have gender inequality. It affects both men and women. I'd rather help both instead of focusing on women and ignoring men. One thing I always find funny though is that half the videos I find with my searches come from channels focusing on makeup tips. Way to go enforcing those gender roles. The little thumbs under my video are there for your use. Please feel free to use them whether or not you like or dislike my videos. Always feel free to comment. I'll probably answer. If you want to get updates on future projects, there's that subscribe button on the left. Have fun, be respectful, and I'll see you next time.